Hey guys, welcome back to the homestead. Today I'm going to show you guys how I make and redo my beeswax covers. So this one, as you can see, it's got some beeswax still left on it. So all I'm going to do, I'm currently melting my beeswax, my pine resin, and you can use a lot of places use jojoba oil, but I'm not a fan of jojoba oil. My skin doesn't particularly like it too much. So again, I'm going to use the apricot oil that I find is a nice substitute. I'll put the full weights and everything below of what I do. But I've got them sitting over here in my double boiler. This is something I would probably definitely try to recommend to do a double boiler type situation in, even if you get a pot with a larger bowl sitting on top of it to melt in. And then you're going to need just a foam roller brush. But the reason that I like just using the double boiler type situation is because you don't have to work as fast because, well, your stuff staying warm on top of the double boiler. So all you do is melt all your materials together, and then you're going to take your swatch of fabric. And again, the great thing about making it yourself is, one, you know where everything comes from. Two, you know the material was washed before you use it. And three, you can make any shape, size, or anything that you like to go with your bowls, right? So like if you've got the really big, ginormous mixing bowl, good luck finding something that covers that. If you want to make your own bread covers, I have actually a pretty large one that I take and I just wrap my loaf in it. You can actually take fabric glue if you want to. You can sew it together too, but not a talent I have. But you can take fabric glue and put around the edges and make bags. Like, the sky's the limit once you learn how to do these things. So like I said, I'm going to put the full recipe below, but all you have to do is I have parchment paper below, and I've got my fabric on top. So we're just going to take the melted material and we're going to put it on our roller brush, and we're just going to start to roll it out. Now, a lot of these recipes you'll see will call for you to put it in the oven, and that is so things melt out and you get a good coverage. But I've actually found that if I take my iron and do the next step with it, it actually turns out pretty nice. And you get that coverage that you want. So you're just going to kind of go around the edges and make sure that you have everything at least halfway covered. If you find that you have too much, then I'll show you what that looks like if we end up that way. You take another piece of parchment paper and you put down, and you see I have my iron covered with aluminum foil. Well, if I didn't have parchment paper between it, I probably would worry. But the thing about the aluminum foil is if your wax or anything happens to leach through, at least you're not getting that on your iron, and then you got to spend, an hour trying to clean your iron. And then I have this on a pretty low setting. I think it's somewhere between 2 to 3 on my iron. And you're just going to kind of run this around until you can see that there's no real dry spots. And that everything is evenly melted. Because sometimes the pine resin will kind of already start to harden up in the process. And also I've seen where a lot of these places say, oh, hang to dry afterwards. That never works for me. They always end up falling on the floor. And when they're in the drying process, you don't want them on your floor. So we'll just run this around for a few minutes. I'll set this back over here. And you see it protects it from getting anything in there. I'm going to take this off. And we have good coverage. So now what I do is I just take it and I lay it on my bread rack. And it'll dry nicely on that, so you don't have to hang it up. I've got a few more that I'm going to do, so I'm going to work on those. We're going to let that one dry, and then I'm going to come back and show you guys how that process, or how it looks once it's completely done. So I'll be back. Okay guys, so here's our finished product. These have cooled, so I'm just gonna fold them for now. Like I said, I did a couple of them, but I wanted to also show you if you're doing this and you realize like there's too much on it, like let's say your roller had way too much wax on it or was applying it too heavy. Usually what I'll do is I'll take and I'll put another piece of cloth, right, another wrap down on top of it, and then I'll just iron them together, and then the extra from one will transfer over to the other one. And you'll just have to see, like, if there wasn't, you know, too much in some places but not enough in another, then you might have to take it and add some more to the one that you put on top. But it's kind of a good way to pull off that excess, right? Because you want these to kind of be tacky and be able to fold, but not, you know, dripping with beeswax and resin. You'll just iron this out until you get the coverage you want. And there was actually a lot on this one. This is why I like the iron method. You just can't do this in the oven. So see, they come across. They both have pretty decent coverage. There's a little down at that bottom. I'll have to add more in a little bit. But this is the one that had way too much. And you see now it's just got a nice thin layer on it, right? You want it to still kind of have that light fabric feel to it. So I'm just going to lay that one down, let it cool. And once they're all dry, we'll put it on. So let me add some more to this one, and then we'll be back. Once they've dried, you're going to want to, and let's see, I've just got a piece of bread over here. So let's say you're making a sandwich, right? Then you'll just take these and you'll take them and you'll fold them. And then you'll use the heat of your hands to then, you know, mold them into spot or into place. And then from there, this is a nice little way to throw them in lunch boxes or, you know, leave it on the counter. Like this beeswax is really going to protect your foods and stuff. Should you get them dirty, use a mild like Castile soap. If you make it yourself from the soap paste, that will work as well. I actually use that on my cast iron with no issues too. Shh, don't tell anybody. But you, like I said, if you get these dirty, just use a very mild Castile organic clean soap to wash them off, and then just let them dry. And if you start to notice that, and you're going to use cold water, but if you start to notice that your beeswax and stuff is coming off, then all you have to do is mix up some more, reapply it, iron it out, and then just keep going just like normal. So I just wanted to show you the way that I did it. I'm going to put the recipe below for the measurements of what I used for the beeswax, the apricot wool, which again, you can sub out jojoba if you like that, and for the pine resin. If you're not a fan of beeswax, you can swap it out for any other wax that you currently use. But yeah, like I said, I'll put that below, but as you can see, it does about, the measurement that I'm going to do below does about 2 squares about this big. I'd say that's probably, I don't know. I didn't measure them before I cut them, but it's a pretty decent size. I would say about like sandwich wrap size. And the good thing is as you're doing it, you can just keep adding to the pot if you're making a whole bunch of these. So it's not like, especially if you do the double boiler, right? It's not like you've got this really big time constraint or everything's going to freeze and congeal in your pot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you make it. Let me know what you think of it. And thank you for stopping by.